right, so the next thing we're going to be adding here are the buttons for our menu. So any good menu, of course, needs buttons for us to navigate and do the things we want to do within the menu. So we're going to go to our main menu object, and we're going to right-click on it, go to UI, and we're going to select the button option. That's just going to make a new button right here. This is a little bit small for me, so I'm probably going to increase the width and height. But again, if you're on 800 by 600, this might look good to you. This is kind of up to you if you want to resize this stuff. But we want to first rename this. So I'm going to rename this to Start Game. That's because this is going to be my start game object here. I'm going to duplicate this object 2 times. So that's going to give us 3 buttons. I'm going to name the second one Level Select. And the third one is going to be Quit. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select, well, actually I'm going to select all 3. So I'm going to click the top one, hold Shift, and click the bottom one. And like I said before, I want to make these a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to double my width and height. So we're going to go to 320 and 60. I think that's much more reasonable. And then I'm also going to go into the text here. I'm going to select all 3 by holding Control and clicking all 3. And we're going to increase this font size to something like 32. Yeah, that looks good. So now all of these have much larger font and the buttons themselves are much bigger. And then I'm going to select my level select object and I'm going to set it to a position Y of, let's say, 75. That looks good. And then same with quit, we're going to do -75. Or I'm sorry, not -75. We want to double that and do -150. So that's going to put them all pretty close. Actually, I'm going to spread them out a little more. We're going to do this to 300 and, well, maybe not 300, 200. Yeah, there we go. That looks better. And then we'll do level select at 100. Again, if you're at 800 by 600 and not doing the 1920 by 1080, I mean, it's probably easier to just switch this to 1920 by 1080 and copy my values, but you can also just eyeball this. None of this has to be exact. I'm not going to check that any of these are exactly the same. The idea is that we just want to get these spaced out similar to how they are on my screen. Now we need to just go into these text objects and update the text that they're actually showing. So we're going to go into Start Game. We're going to swap button out for Start Game on the text object here. Same thing with level select. We're going to swap button with level select. And then the quit text, you've probably guessed, is going to be called quit. So now we've got our 3 buttons. The last thing we need to do for the visuals of these buttons is we're just going to put a box behind them so that they stick out from our background a little better. So we're going to go to main menu, go to UI, and add an image. And we're going to call this ButtonBox, like that. And we also want to reorder this in our canvas. So right now it's below our 3 buttons. We actually want to put it above the 3 buttons here because that forces it to stay behind the buttons that we added. And then I'm going to go to my source image here, and I'm going to click on that little dot icon, and we're going to search for stage frame. And it's going to give us some options here. We're going to be more specific by saying stage frame 04, and that's going to give us these 3. We're going to pick the darker of the 3 here, this dark blue, almost approaching a black color. We want a nice dark nice dark background that's going to contrast with our bright buttons here. So we're going to select that stage frame. We're going to set its position Y to the same as level select. Level select should be in the middle of our 3 buttons, so we can see it's -100. So I'm going to set my position Y here to -100. Excuse me. And then for my width, I'm going to choose, let's say 350. Oops. Yeah, 350. And then for my height, I'm going to choose, we should also be able to do 350. Yeah, perfect. Another optional thing that you can do here is you can make this background transparent. I like to do that personally. I think it looks a little better. So if I select the color and go down to the alpha channel down here at the bottom, I can drag this back to the left and make it a little bit transparent. We don't want it to be fully transparent, obviously, because then you can see it. So we just want to add a little bit of transparency so we can see our background through it there. Yeah, so once we got that button box in place, you can go ahead and save your scene.